Hello, this is Rogue Alchemist with Ominous Videos. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to use the add-on Srendarr in the Elder Scrolls Online. This add-on is for tracking buffs and debuffs, and it is the only one I've seemed to be able to find for this, but find absolutely no videos that actually show how to use it properly, and by properly I mean without an enormous amount of clutter on your screen. When you first download this add-on, what it does is it tracks your skills, your party's skills, and every player around you's skills that they're casting. So in order to remove some of that clutter, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that with this add-on. So go to Add-ons, Srendarr, and you'll have the first 5 tabs here. The first one unlocks the skill bar so you can move it around wherever you would like it. For this other part here, I actually did not touch that because I didn't feel any need to actually do anything with that. It all pretty much is set to go. The second box here is the aura control display groups, and actually that is what's going to free up most of your clutter. What I did was I removed everything to not display except for my number 2 and my number 6, and you can actually change those around to whichever numbers you want later on. For mine, I just did number 2 and number 6 because that's just the order they were in. And I'll explain why I'm using the ground targets and long buffs in the second tab. So in the third box here, you're going to have your debug options, which show your ability IDs and your combat events. You're going to want to turn these two on, and this one's on automatically through that. What this third one does is it enables you to add an ability ID, remove an ability ID, or clear the current ones you've casted. You cannot cast any skill twice and have the ability ID show up. So by that I mean, if you were to cast, for example, Deadly Cloak, it'll show up here. Sorry about that, I switched my bar, which is why all the ability IDs are coming out. Well, it went off in there. If you were to cast it again, it's not going to show anything, no matter how many times you cast it, unless you type SDB clear, and you can cast it again. As you can see now, it actually shows up with the ability ID, but then if you were to cast it again, it shows nothing until you SBD clear again, and then you can cast again. Moving on to the next section, you got the filters. You got your global aura blacklist, which this is what I use to remove some of the buffs that I do not want displayed. This is not going to remove my caltrops, for example. This is actually removing the morph razor caltrops, and by that I mean when you cast caltrops, it will show your caltrops here, but I removed the second one that will appear called razor caltrops, and I'll show you real quick what that is. So if you remove that and you cast it again, as you can see I have 2, and the second one is only 3 seconds, so that kind of takes up space on my screen or makes me look in a direction where I think that something's about to be down, so I took it off. If you go to add-ons again and go to prominent buff and AoE assignments, this is where most of your damage skills will be if you do this the way that I'm doing it. And you can always do it the way you want to do it after you've watched the video. For my first one, this is where my buffs will go in box number 1. So what you're going to do is you're going to type the attack name, the skill name I should say, or the ability ID in this box, and it will display down here like mine do. These are only my buffs I decided to put in here, and you can put your attacks, your buffs, your food, whatever you want in here, but I like to separate mine. So my whitelist number 2 is actually what is going to hold my damaging abilities that are AoEs. It's specific to AoEs. And again, here you can see that I had to use the ability ID in order to actually get this to show up on my cast. Next will be your debuff assignments. These are like your single target debuffs or your AoE debuffs you can use. I have them displaying in Windows 6 along with my, so basically all my damage in one window. So I know when to recast it, and I'm not looking at two different positions to recast my damaging buffs, or debuffs, sorry. So you can see I've rend, poison injection, major defile, which is soul harvest. You have to put in the name of the skill that procs. So for example, shuffle would be major evasion. You wouldn't just type shuffle because it would only be a 3-second buff of immobilization. So then you would use major evasion instead. Moving on to group buff assignments, I actually did not touch this at all because I don't want to know what other players are casting. And then auras for player is basically your Mundus Stone if you're blocking, and disguises. None of this stuff you really want on your screen, and if you do, you should honestly just know if any of these are up. Aura filters for target, same thing. You should know pretty much if this stuff is up or not. So we're going to move on to the next bar, which is the cast bar. This is basically just when you're channeling a skill. You can just basically change the size of it, transparency, and ability name, basically the font of it, not the actual ability name, and what color it is. Pretty simple with that one. The fourth one is aura display, which is actually the big part of this add-on. So with this one, you're going to have 3 different aura style displays: the full, icon, and minimal. And what those are, if you click on example auras, this first one you see here is what's known as an icon display only. This one down here that you see is known as a full display, and those will have the icon along with the ascending and descending bar for time. And then the minimal display is just the bar. The reason you would use these is because when you unlock your add-on, what happens is a full display can only go up and down. This one is a downward full display. This one is a upward full display. And you can change which way they go up for the full display. If you want this one to go up, you can change it to go up. But they cannot go left, they cannot go right. The icon only can go right, left, up, and down. So that's the difference between that one, and that's why I use that for my debuffs, because I like to put it underneath the enemy bar that I have there. Other than that, if you lock it, you'll remove those displays. Going back to the aura display, so what I mean by that, as you can see, this is a full display. Growth direction can only be up and down, but if I change it to minimal, it can also only be up and down. That's with the long bar only. But if you go to icon display, you can go up, down, left, right. So that's kind of up to the player, and then the rest of this is just basically the size of the bar, what you want to do with it, the padding, and then the font again. Last tab is the profile settings. This I believe should be in the first tab, because if you were to change this to account wide, it would actually delete all the settings that you currently have and put it back to default, and vice versa. If you were to have a profile only setting, change it to account wide, it would reset. If you had a account wide already and change it to profile, it would reset. That's pretty much everything I wanted to go over for my video. So thanks for watching this video. If you found it helpful in any way, please subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions or comments, just leave them down below. Thanks. Rogue out.